Second quarter award ceremony for the Port St. Lucie Police Department. Let's get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a very aggressive schedule today. There's been a lot of great police work during this quarter, and several individuals are moving up the career ladder, and some people are getting other recognition, special recognition. So instead of talking, I think we'll just get started. So please bear with Sergeant Orcus. It's his first time doing this, but we're sure he's going to do a good job. One second, Joe. Bill just saved me. I also want to recognize some very special people in the room. Vice Mayor Shannon Martin, thank you for coming. And Councilwoman Stephanie Morgan tried to hide down front here. It's all your show.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We have a busy training schedule for the police department. We have a SWAT retreat going on today. It's also our firearms training today. So we're going to read off some names. Not everyone is here, but everyone will be getting their citations or awards directly. All right, to start off with, we have our 5-year service citation. Officer Matthew Albert. And for 10 years of service, Officer Julio Boris, Police Service Aide Jill Coors, and Traffic Crash Investigator Anna Nunez. And for 15 years of service, Officer Don Paris. And for 20 years of service, Administrator Abraham Alvarez. Abe? Okay. And Master Sergeant Stephen Helseth. All right. For our career ladder candidates, we have Detective Brian Boyce from Police Officer to Police Officer 1. Acting Sergeant Russell Jackson, Police Officer 2 to Master Police Officer. And Sergeant Adrian Caudell from Sergeant to Senior Sergeant. Congratulations. For educational achievement, Animal Control Supervisor Brian Lloyd received his associate's degree. Detective Brian Boyce received his Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice. And Officer Robert Steinkraus received his Master of Science degree in Criminal Justice. Okay, for our Civic Awards, Detective William Jarrett, please come up. He got called back to court? Okay. He was the second person here. Okay. Based upon a nomination received by John Thulis, volunteer, it is with pleasure that the Port St. Lucie Police Department honors you with a Civic Award for the second quarter of 2017. On Thursday, April 27th, while volunteer Thulis fulfilled his duties as front desk receptionist, he witnessed an act of kindness that brought tears to his eyes. A citizen came in with his son, who was 7 or 8 years old, and explained that he had an appointment with Detective William Jarrett. Detective Jarrett, you came down to the lobby wheeling a new bicycle and warmly greeted the young man and his dad, explained to the child that you didn't want him to go all summer without a bike. You had the child climb onto the bike while you supported it and then adjusted the seat and handlebars to fit him. The only thing more precious than the look on the child's face was the look on the father's face. The father told you that he couldn't believe that you had done this for his son. And you then explained that police officers, even though they wear a badge, are still sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, and parents, just like citizens. Knowing the Port St. Police Department's goal of community relations, there is no better example of this policy in action. So congratulations, Bill. Thank you. Officer Scott Johnson. Based upon a nomination received by Officer Robert Loop, it is with pleasure that the Port St. Lucie Police Department honors you with a Civic Award for the second quarter. During this quarter, you were instrumental in bringing a big-name star, Spencer Wilding, who played in movies such as Star Wars, Guardians of the Galaxy, Harry Potter, etc., to the city of PSL to attend a unique fundraising event that benefited the Treasure Coast Hope for the Homeless and the Port St. Lucie Police Athletic League. Not only did you have Mr. Wilding stay in your home, you also provided transportation from various locations that he needed to travel to. At the end of this journey, Mr. Wilding became part of the PSL PD family and would not have been possible without your hard work and dedication. You truly brought something special to the city and agency that has never been accomplished before. Thank you, Scott. Okay, for unit citations, Detective Richard Giacone, Detective Paul Griffith, Officer James Becker, Officer Amanda McCarty. On May 25, 2017, Officers Becker and McCarty responded to a suspicious vehicle on Southeast Bakersfield Street following an attempted FedEx delivery addressed to an unknown person at a Bakersfield address. Shortly after the attempted delivery, a vehicle occupied by 2 males arrived at the location looking for the package. Officer Becker located the vehicle and arrested the driver for traffic-related offenses. While completing a tow log of the vehicles, Officer McCarty found numerous other FedEx packages in the vehicle. Detectives Griffith and Giacone followed up and discovered that the males were part of an organized fraud ring from Miami and were following FedEx drivers in order to steal replacement credit cards being delivered from a bank, with which the group had requested fraudulently as the cardholders. The males were arrested on 8 counts of possession of stolen credit cards, scheme to or fraud, dealing in stolen credit cards, and unlawful possession of personal information. Congratulations. Job well done. Thank you. Sergeant Danny Harrington, Detective Sergeant Aaron Martin, Officer Fatima Barrera, Officer Michael Bianco, Officer Joseph Casnidi, Officer Courtney Druga, Officer Charles Green, Officer Paul Knowles, Officer Corey Kresick, Officer Jesse McInerney, and Canine Officer Michael Colton. This unit citation involves a stolen vehicle in progress call. District 3 and 4 midnight officers, Squad A, assisted the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office with a stolen vehicle that had fled a traffic stop from our District 1. St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Sosby summarized the incident as follows. I just wanted to thank your guys for helping us out this morning and let you know that the night shift did a great job. We had a Signal 10 flee from a traffic stop on Veterans Memorial Parkway. One of your officers picked them up on Gatlin in Veterans Memorial. One of your officers, Gatlin, and witnessed the vehicle crash. The PSL West units were there in no time and had a perimeter set up. With our air unit up and Officer Colton's dog on the ground, 2 of the suspects were caught and a 3rd was identified. Great job by Sergeants Martin and Harrington and the rest of your officers. I am always glad to see it when our agencies work well together. This accolade is only the most recent recognition of the excellent work that District 3 and 4 Midnight Shift Squad A does on a regular basis. Well, Sergeant Tim Petronico, Officers Timothy Bort, Officer Julio Boris, Officer Adam Doty, Officer Colton Reisinger, Officer Kayla Reedy, Officer Dominic Savichep, Officer Adrian Zamoyski, and Canine Officer Gibbons. Please come forward. On May 14, 2017, 911 dispatch received a call from a male who stated that his friend called him stating he was going to take actions toward the police to attempt suicide by cop. The male stated the female had no weapons that he knew of and that he was just trying to commit suicide. At around the same time, the female called 911 stating she was in the area of St. James Drive and had a backpack full of explosives. She then changed her story several times that she either had a gun or was going to use her eyeglass case to make it look like she had a gun so the police would shoot her. She claimed she just wanted to die. Upon arrival, units searched for the female in the area. Canine was deployed and picked up the track. Leading down St. James Boulevard, officers strategically moved down both sides of the roadway using lethal and less lethal coverage. The female was located several hundred feet away in the median and was immediately flooded with light. Upon contact, Officer Bort began giving the female commands to show her hands. The female refused to show her hands, but shortly thereafter pulled her hand out of her pocket holding her eyeglass case and pointed it towards Officer Reedy to make it look like as if she had a weapon. Due to her previous statements about taking this action and the fact that she was completely bathed in light, it was clear she did not pose a deadly threat to the officers. Utilizing less lethal options, the female was taken into custody. There was no injury to the female or any officers. All officers used great restraint in the situation, excellent communication between dispatch and the officers and between the officers on scene, kept the outcome of this scenario from becoming tragic. Congratulations on a job well done. Thank
you. This is the kind of case we read about every day now in the paper across the country, and It's unfortunate that some people choose to highlight the tragedies when they occur and don't truly understand the dynamic nature of the job. But in this particular case, this could have gone very badly, except for great teamwork and great tactics. And it's very refreshing to know that the team pulls together and works like this when the chips are down. So great job on this case. Thank you.
Okay. Our Special Investigations Division, Lieutenant Scott Beck, Detective Sergeant Michael Swanchek, Detective Sergeant Robert Fontaine, Detective Joseph Alves, Detective Kimberly Bailey, Detective John Delacroix, Detective Tricia Gittins-Wards, Detective David Petrie, Detective Josh Sathamilla, Detective Ben Thayer, Detective Erica Venazio, and Detective Carlos Waldron. In the first 6 months of 2017, SID detectives conducted 27 search warrants, 3 buy-bust operations, and arrested 91 individuals. Detectives have seized over $300,000 in cash proceeds and have taken numerous pounds of illegal narcotics off the street. Thank you. Congratulations. Okay. Detectives Sergeant Joe Norcus, Sergeant Danny Harrington, Sergeant Andy Lawler, Detective Maya August, Detective Christopher Bentley, Detective David Butterworth, Detective Jim Jones, Crime Scene Technician Ashley Perkins, Crime Scene Technician Joel Smith, Officer Fatima Barrera, Officer Michael Bianco, Officer Robert Burdick, Officer Courtney Druga, Officer Corey Kresick, Officer Robert Meyer, Officer Jesse McInerney, Officer Nelson Ojito, Officer William Thompson, and K-9 Officer Colin Duncombe. On Monday, May 1st, 2017, at 1:15 in the morning, units responded to an apartment complex on Northwest East Torino Parkway in reference to a person who had been shot. The caller said they were on their way to the hospital with an injured person and they were no longer at the apartment complex. It was unknown if the suspect or suspects were still in the apartment complex, and very little information was obtained from the dispatcher. Contact was made with a juvenile witness in front of Northwest East Torino Parkway who told officers his friends were shot nearby and he ran away to safety. He gave descriptions of 2 male suspects which were transmitted over the radio. K-9 Officer Duncombe arrived on scene and began a track while officers from District 3 and 4 responded and established a perimeter. After tracking for a short while, it was determined the suspects fled in a vehicle. Shell casings were found outside an apartment door near the stairwell, and a few minutes later, the residents of the apartment arrived on scene with another male. They stated the vehicle they were in was the vehicle used to transport the victim of the shooting to the hospital. The vehicle was secured for processing. Officers identified an additional party at the ER who remained at the hospital to be with the victim who had been shot. Officers at the ER obtained the victim's clothing, photographed the victim and obtained additional information from the male subject who remained at the ER with the victim. Based upon the vehicle's occupant's statements, it was determined that shots had been fired just outside and inside an apartment. Officers entered the apartment, where they discovered several frightened juveniles who were hiding in a bedroom, waiting on their mother to return. The juveniles were safely removed from the residence. The residence was cleared and secured as a crime scene. Detectives and crime scene technicians Smith and Perkins responded and processed the entire scene, including the vehicle used to transport the victim. The victim, who was transported to the ER, was in stable condition. All 4 witnesses were transported to the station to be interviewed by detectives. Not long after this incident, dispatch reported that a male had been admitted into the ER with a gunshot wound to his wrist for an allegedly unrelated incident. As detectives conducted their interviews, it was learned one of the alleged witnesses in the home had actually set up the robbery. It was learned that the second gunshot victim at the ER was one of the suspects in the robbery attempt. 2 suspects were taken into custody while another fled the area to avoid arrest. Multiple search warrants were executed for electronic evidence, further strengthening the case. This incident resulted in multiple units responding from different districts and divisions. The combined efforts of evidence preservation, witness and suspect identification, along with relentless follow-up, resulted in quick arrests and the removal of dangerous individuals from our community. Congratulations. Well done.
Great job.
Oh, thank you. Okay. All right. So this will be a combined, this is to be a unit citation and a commendation citation. So could I have Detective Brian Boyce, Detective Richard Giacone, Detective Robert Perkins, Officer Fatima Barrera, as well as Detective William Jarrett, Detective Robert O'Hara, and School Resource Officer Christopher Neidel. In the nighttime hours of May 23rd, unknown suspects traveled to numerous residential communities and shot out a total of 39 vehicle windows from BB or pellet projectiles. This overnight crime spree resulted in $10,000 in destroyed property. The only bit of suspect information was provided by Officer Barrera after she had spoken with a store clerk that witnessed someone driving a silver box-style vehicle leaving the store that night. The subjects were firing what appeared to be a BB gun from the window at a stop sign. No tag number could be obtained, and the video surveillance footage from the store was of little use. The spree was assigned to Detective Jarrett as the lead investigator, along with Detective Perkins, O'Hara, Giacone, and Boyce. The detectives displayed a positive attitude and even said, "We'll have them in custody by the end of the day." Within a couple of hours, Detective O'Hara obtained video surveillance from a chain store in St. Lucie West of the suspects and their vehicle. The suspects were observed stealing several $100s worth of property from the store, including miscellaneous CO2 BB guns. Photographs of 2 suspects were provided, and the suspects appeared to be young males that attend or have attended one of our local high schools within the last couple of years. Detective Jarrett showed the pictures to SRO Neidel, and he positively identified one of the males as a former troubled student. It was learned through social media that the former student has an older brother. His brother had a vehicle registered to him matching videos from the stores and residential surveillance footage recovered by Detective Boyce. The brother also recently pawned some of the stolen items. Detective O'Hara and Jarrett located the 2 brothers, and during their interview, they admitted to stealing the BB guns and traveling throughout the city shooting up cars. They also admitted to committing several other vandalisms that had gone unreported, along with discarding some of the stolen BB guns on a wooded lot. An extensive grid search of the lot was conducted, and 2 of the BB guns were recovered. Within 12 hours of assigning the spree, the suspects were identified, located, and arrested for 35 counts of criminal mischief, grand theft, and dealing in stolen property. This investigation is a shining example of how attitude, teamwork, and dedication to your job will produce the greatest results. The detectives and officers involved in these cases brought closure to countless victims and held the offenders accountable for their malicious acts. Congratulations. For Accommodation Awards continued, Detective Joseph Alves and Detective Carlos Waldron. On April 12, 2017, you brought to a highly successful conclusion 2 related narcotic investigations involving the sale of large amounts of heroin in our city. These investigations spanned several months with countless hours of physical surveillance, electronic surveillance, and undercover narcotic transactions. The investigation led you and the DEA into Palm Beach County, where the suspects were purchasing 300 to 400 capsules of heroin a day to resell in our city. After following the individuals to Palm Beach County, a traffic stop was conducted and over 400 capsules of heroin were seized. 2 search warrants were then served in which more heroin was seized, as well as 3 firearms. Ultimately, 5 adults were arrested as part of your investigation. These arrests had a significant impact on the sale of heroin in our city. It is for these efforts you are being awarded a accommodation citation. Excellent job. This will be an accommodation citation for a strong-arm robbery. On April 10th, 2017, Sergeant Kenny and Officer, I should call you down, shouldn't I? Sergeant Brian Kenny, Officer Clifford Dean, Officer Anthony Lavecchio, Officer Mitchell Miller, Officer Joseph Trevisol, and Mr. Jason Eaton. Mr. Jason Eaton. Here you are. Sergeant Kenny and Officer Trevisol, Miller, Dean, and Lavecchio responded to a robbery in progress at a restaurant on US 1. A male had stolen a purse from the victim's car and fled on foot, and that a witness, Mr. Jason Eaton, was following the suspect in his pest control truck as the suspect ran across US 1, heading eastbound near an appliance store. Officer Miller quickly set up a perimeter to contain the suspect as units arrived on scene. Officer Trevisol and Miller secured the large plaza in which the appliance store is located, and Sergeant Kenny observed the suspect running through the plaza parking lot. He exited his patrol car and gave the suspect verbal commands to stop and get on the ground, to which the suspect complied. Officer Miller performed UCI duties and recovered items that were stolen from the victim, located in the restaurant plaza, by following the path the suspect used when he fled the crime. Officer Lavecchio and Dean secured the crime scene and later conducted the successful show-ups for the victim and witness. Officer Trevisol conducted an in-depth interview of the suspect and charged him with strong-arm robbery and burglary. And without a doubt, Mr. Eaton's assistance helped thwart the suspect's crime. Mr. Eaton put himself in harm's way to follow the suspect and relay his description and update whereabouts of the suspect to 911 operator, sealing the suspect's fate. This case was featured in the news media, bringing positive accolades to the Port St. Lucie Police Department. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Eaton. Thank you.
So, I often talk about the community, and when people ask why the crime rate is so low in Port St. Lucie, and I always bring up that the community really helps us do our jobs, and as all of you know, that this community stands behind the department. And this is a prime example of a case that was solved because the citizen cared as much about the community as the police department. Thank you, sir.
Detective Joshua Sapamilla. It's a accommodation citation for a narcotics investigation on Hawthorne Circle. In late April 2017, you received information in reference to a potential drug dealing at a home on Hawthorne Circle. Within a week, you were able to establish probable cause and a search warrant was issued. The search warrant was executed on May 3rd, and inside the home, detectives found a large-scale marijuana derivatives lab in which marijuana tincture, marijuana wax, and marijuana edibles were being made for sale. Detectives located over 200 bars of Xanax packaged for sale, as well as several pounds of marijuana. Detectives also located 4 firearms and over $247,000 in drug proceeds. 3 adults were arrested for a variety of narcotic offenses. Due to your excellent investigation and hard work, you are being awarded a accommodation citation. Congratulations. Thanks, Bill. A accommodation citation for Officer Michael Bianco. On April 23rd, at approximately 11:30 p.m., you were close to patrolling a new construction area off of Southwest Village Parkway due to recent burglaries. While patrolling the area, you observed a suspicious vehicle parked at Southwest Discovery Way and Southwest Village Parkway, and initially believed the vehicle might have broke down. You stopped out with the vehicle to check on the driver and to see if she needed assistance. Upon making contact with the female occupant, you observed an empty firearm holster on the passenger seat. You then asked where the firearm was, and she initially denied having a gun. You continued speaking with the female and realized that she seemed distraught. Eventually, she confided in you that she had come to that area in order to commit suicide. But you made contact with her before she was able to do so. A loaded handgun was found under the passenger seat, and which she hit upon you pulling up to her. The female was Baker acted and taken to New Horizons. She thanked you for saving her life. So, is with these efforts, you are being awarded a accommodation citation. Good job, Mike. Okay. Accommodation citation for Officer Martin Gobriel and Officer Eric Wilson. Okay.
Gobes at firearms.
Okay.
So is Eric.
Right. They are both in firearms, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read this. On April 30th, 2017, at 8:10 p.m., Officers Gobriel and Wilson were dispatched to an apartment on Southwest Village Parkway in reference to a welfare check on an elderly male that lives alone. A female contacted 911 and stated her 88-year-old father has throat cancer and is very frail and needs a cane to walk, and she hasn't spoken to him in 3 days. Upon arrival, Officer Gobriel observed the man's vehicle in the parking lot. Several attempts were made to contact at the apartment, but were unsuccessful. While walking the exterior of the apartment, attempts were also made to look through the windows, but nothing was seen in the common areas. The lights in the apartment were off, and nothing seemed out of place. The blinds to the master bedroom were closed, and they were unable to see inside the bedroom. Officer Gobriel then made contact with the neighbor, and she last saw her neighbor entering the apartment with a walker on April 26, which is 4 days prior. Contact was made by phone with the property manager, who agreed to do a property inspection of the elderly man's unit. Officers Gobriel and Wilson made several announcements and entered into the apartment. Upon entering the master bedroom, they observed the man who had fallen in the shower. He appeared lifeless, unresponsive, malnourished, and dehydrated. The water was turned off, and there was no water in the tub. While checking for vital signs, the man opened his eyes and stated he fell in the bathtub 2 days ago and was unable to get up for assistance. Officer Wilson immediately called for rescue, and Officer Gabriel attempted to render aid and comfort to the man until rescue arrived to transport the man to the hospital. The nurse stated the elderly man was dehydrated and exhausted, as well as showing signs of a recent heart attack. She stated he wouldn't have survived being in the bathtub another day. Officer Wilson went to the hospital the following day to check on the man's condition. He was moved from ICU to a regular hospital room and was likely to make a full recovery. It is for these efforts you are being awarded a commendation citation. This will be a problem-solving award for Officer Calvin King. Calvin King, are you here? Okay.
Also a firearms.
Okay. You were assigned to a nuisance home for abandoned vehicles, vehicles being repaired, and narcotics activity on Southwest Ballweg Street. Our department has responded to this home a total of 26 times due to the renter of the home flagrantly repairing and parked inoperative vehicles within the city's right-of-way. Officer King, you, along with code enforcement, joined forces and were able to rid the neighborhood of these nuisance homes. You utilized your investigative skills, and by thinking outside the box, you were successful in obtaining several arrest warrants for the renter of the home. The owner of the home has recently cleaned up the home with fresh paint and new garage door. Due to your perseverance in ensuring the issue was resolved, you are being awarded the Problem Solving Award. Thank you, Calvin. Okay. An Administrative Excellence Award for Sergeant James Darren Howie and Jamie Sparks, Administrative Assistant. Welcome back, Jamie. Congratulations. Based upon a nomination submitted by Linda Cole, Records Supervisor, you have been awarded the Administrative Excellence Award for the second quarter of 2017. You continue to work on the ongoing archive project as well as going through the staff services paperwork to ensure that the agency is meeting record-keeping standards and mandates. You are cataloging the boxes and using a spreadsheet to account for each box and make sure the importance of paperwork is retained and accessible. This feat has allowed all the training boxes to be replaced on the shelves and removed from the floor, preventing unsafe conditions. Also, the older records that will not need to be retrieved will be housed in a more permanent storage facility. This assignment took a great amount of time and determination, and is the reason why you have been selected to receive the Administrative Excellence Award. Thank you. Okay. All right, this will be our Volunteer of the Second Quarter Award. Will Mr. William Coots please come forward? Congratulations. Based upon a nomination submitted by Thomas Andrew, you have been selected as the Volunteer of the Second Quarter for 2017. You have been a volunteer since March of 2013. Currently, you are a member of the Tradition Community Patrol, where you provide additional eyes and ears for the police department in observing and reporting suspicious activity. You are also our Monday courier, making timely deliveries of department documents to state and county offices. If necessary, you will fill in for couriers on other days. It seems that you are always available when called upon to assist. Most recently, you have begun to volunteer with the Crimes Watch Patrol. You are a most reliable and dedicated volunteer. The Port St. Lucie Police Department is lucky to have you in our volunteer program. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay. For our Brian E. Ruther Manager Award, Sergeant James Darren Howie. Please come forward. Congratulations. Based upon a nomination submitted by Jamie Sparks, Administrative Assistant, you have been awarded the Brian E. Ruther Manager Award for the second quarter of 2017. In October of 2016, you took on the role of Sergeant in the Staff Services section. Since becoming a part of Staff Services, you have become a vital part of the team and have worked on numerous tasks and projects. You supervised the training room remodel and were instrumental in assisting and facilitating the completion of this project. You have made it a priority to host trainings in the new training room. You recently worked with the Criminal Investigations Division to host a week-long cybercrimes computer-related training, which drew attendees from other agencies outside of the area. You worked with Human Resources and District Support to create an easier and more efficient way to navigate the seasonal contractual employees assigned to the School Crossing Guard Unit. During this quarter, you were instrumental with the Narcan setup and training, which was an important task. To date, Narcan was issued to the Special Investigations Division and the Records Section. You also assisted Chief Bulldog in creating a special event for the participants of City University. You worked with purchasing to ensure your section was prepared to host the attendees and put them through the scenario-based exercise using the Milo simulator. You're accountable for your employees and ensure that work is being completed through detailed weekly meetings. You bring a hands-on approach and are involved in the aspects of training, recruiting, and accreditation. You continue to demonstrate outstanding leadership efforts and most deserving to receive the Brian E. Ruther Manager Award. Thank you. Outstanding job performance. For the Civilian of the Second Quarter, Records Specialist, Lori Poston, please come up. Congratulations. Based upon a nomination submitted by Linda Cole, Records Supervisor, you have been selected as a Civilian of the Second Quarter 2017. And Supervisor Cole's submission, she mentioned that on any given day, you display the utmost professionalism within our department. It does not matter if it is a coworker, an officer, or the public on the phone, or in person. You demonstrate complete competence along with knowledge in your position to each and every person in a proficient and kind manner. Ms. Cole recently received the call from Pet Pal's owner, Laura Muir, regarding how professional, helpful, and thoughtful you were when assisting her. As this phone call was brought to your attention, you replied, "I'm just doing my job." These attributes are what it takes and what it makes to make a great record specialist. Congratulations, Lori. Thank you, and job well done. Detective of the Second Quarter, Detective Jerry Harrington. Congratulations. Based upon a nomination received from Detective Sergeant Jan Bernstein, you have been chosen as a Detective of the Second Quarter for 2017. You have been described as an outstanding detective that investigates assigned cases with professionalism that is beyond reproach, and that you have been a pleasure to work with because of your positive attitude. In addition to your duties within CID, you're also a department instructor who trains personnel in various high liability courses. During this quarter, you have been assigned 25 cases. Currently, you are investigating 9 open cases and have positively cleared or closed 16 cases with a 100% clearance rate. Wow. This rate is the highest in the property section. You were assigned a residential burglary on Northeast Royce Avenue, where a female suspect was caught on surveillance video. You relentlessly investigated this case, going door to door in the neighborhood until a woman recognized the suspect as her daughter. The victim decided not to press charges after it was determined that the suspect, who was a recovering alcoholic, had a relapse and entered the wrong house unintentionally. You investigated a stolen vehicle case where it crashed and the passenger suspect had life-threatening injuries. This was a tiresome and very detailed investigation where stories continuously changed and the suspects lied. But you eventually obtained confessions. This stolen vehicle and additional vehicle burglaries were part of a burglary auto theft spree bulletin 2017-165. During your investigation, you identified 2 additional suspects. These suspects were involved in 10 other burglaries. 2 of the suspects were arrested on numerous burglary and theft charges, and the 3rd suspect, who is currently hospitalized for health issues, has charges pending. You also inspected a vehicle fire case on Southeast Walter Terrace. During your examination, you uncovered that the vehicle was involved in a hit and run that patrol officers were investigating. The suspect was subsequently arrested and a confession obtained. It is for the above reasons and countless more that you being awarded Detective of the Second Quarter 2017. Congratulations, Jerry. Officer of the Quarter, Officer Adrian Peterzak. Congratulations. You have been selected as Officer of the Second Quarter 2017 based upon a submission received by Senior Sergeant Richard Schichtel. In the beginning of 2017, you were transferred to District Support as a School Resource Officer. You were uncertified as an SRO until you received formal training over the summer. You were given informal on-the-job training and then began working solo at Centennial High School. You immediately developed a good rapport with your coworkers, your school resource deputy counterpart, and the school's principal and staff. You seamlessly took on this new role with little help from your supervisor or the other SROs. Once you became acclimated, you determined that law enforcement activity at the school needed to be increased. You began identifying criminal activity at the school and started making arrests. On April 4th, you broke up a fight involving 5 females with hundreds of students egging them on. The fight was videotaped by multiple parties and posted on social media, resulting in tens of thousands of views. You determined eligibility of the 5 defendants and initiated diversion in lieu of an arrest. Because of the potential for repeat violence during their first appearance, you assisted Tracy Diaz in processing their first appearance so that all of the terms and conditions were clear to all parties involved. During this quarter, you investigated 4 theft cases, and 75% of your cases were cleared by either arrest or a waiver of prosecution or other reclassification. You also identified the need to utilize the diversion program whenever possible and appropriate. During the quarter, you diverted 12 arrests to the Juvenile Restorative Justice Initiative, nearly 20% of the cases for the entire department. You communicate effectively with the juvenile counselor and follow up with your defendants in school to ensure that they are following their sanctions. Nearly all of your cases successfully complete the program. You also participate in numerous division projects, such as Police Athletic League, Explore Middle School Dances, a drill instructor in the Junior Police Academy, and helped teach RAD Kids at the Police Athletic League. You are a member of the Honor Guard and have represented our agency extremely well in a number of events this quarter, including the annual Police Memorial, as well as posting guard at funerals. You are a department instructor and remain proficient in instructing despite your new duties. During the summer break, you have also worked with Training and Recruiting Unit, assisting with in-service training and background investigations of new recruits. Congratulations, Adrian. Thank you. So we have an awarding of badges. If Detective Jerry Harrington and Detective Jason Vega, please come forward. So detectives are on a probationary status before they actually earn their shield. And after 1 year, if the supervisors in CID are in agreement and that they work hard enough, then they get their gold shield, and that's what they're earning today. and a retirement plaque presentation. Animal Control Officer Maria Geller. Maria, come on down.
You want to stand right here with me? No. Okay. I'll make it short and sweet. How's it?
Okay.
Today we're celebrating Maria's retirement after 12 years of service with the Port St. Lucie Animal Control Division. Maria was born on April 27th, I'm not going to say the year, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and moved to Stuart, Florida with her mother and 3 siblings in 1979. Oh, that's kind of a hint.
Yeah, thanks.
Maria has 3 sons, James, Brandon, and Matthew. James served 5 years in the Army and is currently in college. Brandon and Matthew are presently serving in the United States military. Maria was hired in 2005 as an animal control officer and recently served as an acting supervisor. During her tenure with the department, Maria has received several letters of appreciation and has earned the Distinguished Achievement Award for the Safest City. Now I'd like to read the plaque. Presented to Maria Geller, Animal Control Officer, in recognition and appreciation of your 12 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Port St. Lucie while serving as an Animal Control Officer. Thank you. Okay. How about a round of applause for Sergeant Orcus? So today I think we heard several recurring themes. We heard a lot of teamwork, and I heard the word relentless used time and time again in nominations. And I submit to you that teamwork and relentless investigations really is the key to what we do and the reason we have a 42% clearance rate in the city. And taking that formula a little bit further, a low clearance rate and great customer service makes a happy, safe community, and that's your job. So thank you for every day going out and doing your job. There's no secret that the #1 goal on the City of Port St. Lucie's strategic plan is having a low crime rate and a safe community. And the 2 council members here today, thank you for supporting us, giving us what we need to get the job done. We're not going to let you down. This is a great group of people here. To the citizens, thank you for your support. Thank you for calling us when you see something. It makes all the difference in the world. And just thank you, everybody. Great job. And I believe we have refreshments back at the station.